productive, how do we use that wealth that we've created? It can go in wages, or it can go in what some people are saying, we want reduced working time because we want to be more with our families and have more leisure.
So what if GPs and hospital workers say, I want a 4-day week?
Right. They'll argue that over time, their unions will negotiate with employers over time in all sectors about how we can use that increased productivity to reduce the working week. And in the health service, for example, it will mean, as we grow the economy, we'll have more income and more wealth to spend on our public services, and it will mean recruiting more staff. But
100,000 vacancies in the National Health Service.
I know. I think the first thing is to recognise the situation.
So the 4-day week is more than 10 years away.
No, I don't think so. I think that's why it's over a 10-year period. We can do it as long as we grow the economy, invest in our infrastructure, become more productive, and then we create the wealth that we can use. And I'll just give this one example. On productivity at the moment, we're in a bit of a productivity crisis. In France and Germany, workers produce in 4 days what British workers produce in 5. Not because we're not hard working, we are. We're industrious. It's just that the investment is not there in our infrastructure, in our equipment, and in some of the training as well to enable us to become more productive. Once that goes in, the investment goes in, that's what Labour's plans are all about. We become more productive, we create more wealth.
But we're talking particularly about the National Health Service this morning.
Yes, but then because you create more wealth, people are paying more into the state with their taxes.
So you think within a decade that if people in the National Health Service want to work a 4-day week, they will be able to?
It will be a 32-hour week, not a 4-day week. So it's flexible, but you construct it in a way which suits the service. Now, we've been doing this since 1860. We've been reducing our hours for over a century and a half.
OK, the headline is that you said that if people want to work a 4-day week or 32 hours a week in the National Health Service, within a decade they'll be able to. OK, let's see. Talk to me about the bants from John Ashworth. What on earth was going on there?
Well, he was saying he was having a banter with a Conservative, so-called friend. I think this says more about this so-called friend than it does about Jonathan. He was saying he was having a bit of banter. And then this friend records it and then puts it on the Tory.
It wasn't bants at all.
Well, that's what I think he was trying to entice his friend out with a bit of information.
He was talking to his friend and he was saying, we're absolutely stuffed. We're not going to win.
From what I understand, his friend was saying that the Tories were in a panic because the polls were narrowing. So John played along with it. However, look, I think it says more about his Tory friend and the Tory tactics than it does about Jonathan. Come on, what sort of friend?
What sort of friend? Your mate
what sort of friend records something?
Well, that's a completely different story. And if he was sat here, I would be giving him a hard time about that. But he isn't. Well, yeah, I'd love the Tories to come on. Exactly. Nevertheless, what he's saying is that your leader is unelectable.
Jonathan never meant that. He was saying this was banter, and I think it's completely contrary to all that we know, because well, you've seen what the polls are doing. It was like 2017, exactly then, before the election itself, everyone was predicting we were going to be wiped out. I don't believe all the polls, but the trend, I look at the trend is towards Labour. We're now in a situation where I think tomorrow will demonstrate that actually we can form a majority Labour government. The polls have really narrowed.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it depends on turnout. Look at what happened last time.
And riding into Downing Street on a unicorn.
Well, not at all. I think you look at the turnout tomorrow and we'll see. But just like 2017...
The polls are saying you're down, what, 30-odd seats?
Well, if you look at the poll from last night, the YouGov poll, which actually usually counts us down, we've reduced that so-called majority of the Tories from 68 significantly down by 40.
I'm not voting the YouGov poll, I'm sure I am.
Well, the YouGov poll dramatically reduces their projection on what the Tories are going to win.
There's still down
and then within the margin of error, puts us into a hung parliament.
So you're having to rely on a margin of error?
No, I think we'll go further than that. I actually think on the turnout tomorrow, just as it did in 2017, will shock people. And every individual seat is like a by-election. They're all different. That's what I found, particularly in this election. And I think there'll be some remarkable results.
So many of your colleagues within the shadow cabinet not have Jeremy Corbyn on their literature when they've been going out and about?
Well, as a party, you're obviously promoting your local candidature, and you're not always having the leader on your literature. That's never been the case.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Really?
Yeah.
What about when Tony Blair was being elected? Tony Blair was all over the place.
I don't think I've ever had a leader's picture on any of the leaflets I put out. I'll better check.
You know we're going to check that, don't you?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I'm definitely going to check that.
Well, I'll go back on the constituency and check out, send you some money.
OK, what if you don't win? Is it time for him to go?
No, we're going to win.
And what if you don't?
We're going to win.
And what if you don't?
We're going to win.
And what if you don't?
We'll keep on repeating this,
No,
Kate. We're going to win.
Because you know that you're not going to win. The best you can do is get...
come on. You're right.